Hey everyone, welcome to the Digital Drift panels with me, Hoos. We bring together the sharpest minds across media, marketing, and tech to break through the fluff challenge and what's broken and figure out what's actually working in the chaos of the modern digital world. So let's dive in. Today is a fun one. We're tackling the topic of performance marketing and is it actually eating the brand or is it helping? I have two fantastic guests with me. One is a very long time friend and one is a new friend. I have with me Pedro and Carlos. Guys, thank you so much for joining me on today's Drift panel. Before we get started, I'd love to if you guys give a quick intro of who you are, your backgrounds and stuff like that. We can just jump right into it. Go ahead, Pedro.
Fantastic. So thanks for inviting us. It was a pleasure to be here. My name is Pedro Goncalves. Over the past decades, I have collected experiences on the agency side, the client side, and even on the tech side of our industry. And also I have like a business of my own, so I kind of have like that particular experience as well. I am currently heading performance at DAMAC. DAMAC is one of the leading real estate developers of the UAE. And I also own a digital consultancy called Supernova.com.
Fantastic. Thanks for joining us, man. Carlos?
Hi guys, nice to meet you. I'm Carlos Melo. I have been here in the region for the past 6 years. I have over 10 years of experience. My experience is slightly different. I started on the product side of things, then I went to lead data, and more recently I have been heading marketing. In the region I have worked for Karim, I also worked for Onas, and more recently I have been working for Kingmakers, which is an entertainment company focused on Africa, where I'm heading up. I used to be head of growth, now I'm heading everything the relations on revenue for the whole group. Nice to meet you.
Fantastic. Awesome. All right. So today's topic, obviously, for me, connects very deeply because, similar to Pedro, I've done both agency side, client side. Haven't done tech or supplier side, but I kind of have an idea of how it works. And obviously, I've been seeing lately, and I'm sure you guys have seen the same. There's been a very big rise, I think, in performance lately. I mean, 5-6 years ago was very brand heavy, very upper funnel. What I saw, especially in the Middle East, Dubai market. But lately, over the last couple of years, I'm seeing a very big shift towards ROI, performance, and even clients who are naturally upper funnel are now asking for lower funnel metrics. So these are the things I've been seeing myself, and I'm sure you guys seeing. Have you felt that performance marketing actually has been shifting to become like kind of the lead metric that clients are looking for? Have you seen the same thing from your end?
If I may take the lead on that one, definitely. It's pretty much justifiable because if you look at and you track like the flow of the money, and I leave that across the different perspectives, the money has been moving towards things that can get proven easier. I'm not going to say only faster or proven, but I think it's following this direction that we have, that everything needs to move faster, everything needs to be proven. And some channels, they have the upper hand on that. Of course, like digital is mainly about like trackability, speed of response, and accountability for every dollar that you spend and what is the impact that that gives. So those are the main reasons why we're seeing like, so much money being flowed now towards what we call performance channels. I have a very particular view of what performance marketing means, but for the sense of what the industry states as performance marketing, the channels that are considered part of performance marketing, is pretty logical because the pressure for immediate results has been growing. And those are the channels that they can produce metrics that kind of go hand in hand with more immediate results. So it's a no-brainer, right? If you look at the industry direction, what those channels can drive, it's compounding one on the other.
All right, interesting. What do you think, Carlos?
Yeah, I'm very much aligned. I think what I would I want to say defer but complement is more like it's faster to deploy. So what is happening is because of the traditional marketing above the line, everything takes more time for deployment. It needs different type of mediums to be able to be deployed. When you compare with the digital marketing, things faster, accessible, you can measure, and more important, it's very easy for the C-suite to understand. If you talk about to your CFO, you'll be able to say, hey, channel A has this cost of acquisition. They can compare, okay, what is the LTV of that given customer that came from that channel? So everything feels simpler to the C-suite to understand. Hence, they'll say, hey, if it's more measurable, I can actually prove the ROI on that given channel in a faster way. And you guys need less resource to be able to deploy more of those channels. It's natural that the budget should be shifting for something which gives certainty, right? I believe that these are the major factors. So how fast to deploy, how fast to be measured, and how easy is for non-marketeers to understand the metrics of those channels. I think this also compounds of everything that Pedro said there as well.
Interesting. I want to get you guys' take on something. Like, I mean, I've been seeing in some times where, again, I don't know. I feel that the drive to performance is led by many things. Obviously, you have the natural changes in the world, inflation coming up. Companies' marketing budgets are not as big as they used to be, and now the marketing teams and brand managers have to now justify spends. Everything has become justifiable, and obviously, upper management only cares about the dollar figure. So even a place that naturally should not be performance marketing, but is now really focusing there because they want the ROI. I'm kind of in a place where I'm seeing that obsession with performance and ROI is kind of eating away or sacrificing the equity or the focus on the brand. I'll give you one example. We had this one client come to us. We ended up working together, but they came to us. They were a brand new store. No one has ever heard of them. It's not like they're a franchise, a brand new store. And they were just not willing to even accept that they had to do awareness. They wanted to have sales. They wanted to have conversions from day one. They would not understand that there would be some kind of awareness or upper funnel needed before we shift to lower funnel. And the focus on that basically ruined the relationship, and we couldn't continue, and they only wanted to focus on conversions. Do you think that's the case? Do you think that the obsession with the bottom line is making the clients or brand managers or seniors forget that we have to also focus on the upper funnel? What do you think, Carlos?
I think for me, it's really about education of the managers and directors. Then they think about this case. So let's make an analogy. Guys, you're a brand that no one knows. So it's natural that we need to at least put your brand out there, for people to how they discover your brand. Does this brand resonate? Does the promise of the brand is delivered through? So I think it's really people are going, oh, can I, if they search for my brand, will they find? But the first thing is, how do you create the search for that brand, as an example, if they want to spend all the money on performance? So I think that is a little bit of education. And I believe that most of the marketeers, which are pure branding marketeers, they sometimes they lack of this confidence, or they lack the ability to create the journey of the customer and explain the role of the kind of the branding marketing on that journey to be able to connect later to the performance, right? So, hey, look, your brand is non-existent. Do you know who is your segment that you want to go after? Do you know the persona that we want to go after? So let's map a day in the life of that persona. And now that is why we need to create this awareness plan, because then the brand will be introduced every time that they are on the touch points that we want to be. We can create this omni-channel journey, which the performance then comes to capture the demand that you have created. So I believe that the phase of demand creation and the capture of the demand is not there. And some of the founders, because they are not introduced or they are not marketeers by heart, they miss the importance of that part of the creation of demand. And then I think it's our role to educate. Because if you can educate, then they will understand, oh, wow, actually, think about a brand that you recently discovered. How did you discover? I saw something somewhere which created me the curiosity for then go and search for the brand, right? So I think if we can make these analogies, makes it easier for them to understand the role of the performance. And to your question, I believe that yes, performance has been taking this role. And again, because of the first question, it's very much certain, right? So they see that if a little bit of money in, they'll see money out on that. But what is the size of the demand that exists that today, right? I think this will be my take on that.
How about you, Pedro? Obviously, you come from many backgrounds. What do you think about that? Are we sacrificing the brand purely for the bottom line?
For a better word, I'm gonna say I find it funny, but it's not funny at all, right? There's too big myopias in the market. I really like what Carlos said about creating demand and capturing demand, and how those two things kind of should go along. But even if you remove this conceptual definition, like if you talk to somebody that already had done that for ages, they would tell you that usually their best performing channels in performance marketing are paid search brand, or their email database, or their WhatsApp database. And the biggest question that I have on that is, like, for the myopia that marketers, like, where do you think those things come from? Where do you think, somebody searching for the name of your brand comes from? Somebody enlisting to receive your email marketing, your WhatsApp, enrolling to your CRM list? Like, nobody enrolls into something that they don't know, they don't trust, they don't have any perception on, right? So I think that's the big myopia that I want to channel, right? It's not even about like proving things conceptually, but if you just go by the experience, by the channels that will drive the best ROI individually, if you only look at them, and that's the myopia, you will see already some weird correlation between like, what is the performance and where performance comes from. And the second myopia is like we taking a bit of the due diligence in being able to prove those things. Like, on the other side, like, yeah, we have to educate, but we got like away for so long with not being able to create correlations or structuring your thoughts or even put that in front of the client in a way that is easily digestible for them. We created so many metrics, so many measurements, but when it comes to kind of going back to the basics and saying like there is no rift between performance and branding, it's just about like one rolls much faster and the other takes a bit longer for you to be able to prove, but they are working together, right? So are we sacrificing? I would say like only if you're doing that technically wrong.
Yeah. In the last podcast, we brought up very shortly the rift between procurement and marketing. And we talked about it mainly from CPA, stuff like that. But I think it actually has a direct effect here, because when you have a procurement department who I feel has taken a much bigger role in marketing decisions over the last few years, in terms of pitches and strategies and RFPs, I feel like the procurement is playing a much bigger role, to the point is that where I've been on calls where you present your strategy to marketing and then the commercials with procurement, right? And then obviously procurement has to justify their role, which is basically what am I giving back to the business? It's not just about discounting your fees or your buying. It's also they have to prove to senior management that you put $1, you can get 3 back. And because procurement people are not necessarily digital savvy, you get that clash. And that is what I've been seeing. I think we've all been seeing over the last couple of years. And I think we're in a transitionary period. I don't know if you agree with me, where I feel that eventually we're just going to level out. But I think right now we're in a bit of a rocky time where maybe either procurement has to come up to the digital level or marketing has to be more back involved when it comes to the actual buying. But definitely, I agree with both of you guys. I think education is so important. I actually have a client that we've been working with for so long, and we've actually started off with a percentage shifted more to performance, and now we've actually shifted the majority back to awareness, because with an attribution model, we found that actually the awareness is generating more lower funnel acquisitions than the actual direct attributed, lower funnel activities.
Beautiful. Yeah, it makes sense because you're mentioning about transition moments, and we are also coming on transition on this, right? It's funny because you look, technology enabled us to do measurement to a different level, but we got obsessed with that type of measurement, and now we are kind of coming to our senses, unlocking new technology that changes how we measure things. And now I think we will get to another level of measurement, and we should, right? Because the current technology enable very quick, almost real-time measurement, it has flaws, it has gaps. Same goes for procurement, right? If you look, procurement is a department that exists in medium to large size organizations. If you go to the rest of the marketeers in the market, the smaller business, and they don't have to be like absolutely small, they don't have that concept.
Mm.
And you have a conversation with them, if you have a conversation with the owner of those businesses, they are much better enabled to look at what you present to them, not on a line by line and ask the value and discounts on each one of those lines, but looking at the whole picture. I think that's one of the things that, procurement has been driven to look at things on digital and marketing and strategy the same way they look at, how you buy toilet paper, how you buy like any other of those basic commodity things where you can look at line by line on the proposal and the sheet and question each dot and metric and cost in that. And when in fact is, as we were saying, right, so you're going to look at the individual efficiency, but you need to look at the compounded efficiency of it.
That's a great word, compounded efficiency. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, Carlos?
I think I was reflecting here, and I'll bring a case which recently happened, right? So I was recently reading the whole Nike change that happened. So Nike in 2000, they were like, oh, we have a strong enough brand. We have a very great distribution. Hence, our business strategy is to go direct to customer. that cascaded into so many decisions, which is, hey, now our shifts of will no longer to be a lot of sponsoring, you partner less with athletes, and we are going to double down on performance and direct sales customers, right? So that to leverage that D2C strategy. This was 2000. Fast forward 5 years, what happened? They start to lose so much market share. So we have brands like Hoka, On Cloud, and all, like even think about Reebok going to niches like CrossFit, High Rocks, and stuff. So what happened is that they created this disconnection of the brand with the core audience that they had, which made them lose market share. Now, fast forward 2025, they take the CEO out, they take the CMO out, and then bring someone which was on the company for 15 years. What is their motto now? Hey, let's connect back to the customers. Let's invest on our brand. Let's go back and connect with our athletes. We created that storytelling of the brand, create kind of this inspiration that Nike was always. So I think looking for a big brand as Nike, which has a distribution across multiple countries, going back to invest more on the branding side is a very interesting view of, hey, look, to the myopia that Pedro brought before, even more importantly, the direction that we went overboard. Everything's performance, justify each and every penny. And then saying, hey, look, because we didn't invest as much on branding for 5 years, look of what is the lag effect of everything that we haven't done on the past 5 years, right? I think the last point that I would tackle on the procurement side is procurement looks line by line, as Pedro said, right? What we need to change from the consumer side is how do you build the knowledge of them that, hey, paying for the customer today means that you're going to make money in the next X years. We invest a lot upfront of the customer to build that equity, but you'll be able to claw back that money in multiple purchases that they're going to do, because now instead of buying one time or 2 times with us, we build this long relationship. And if you can model and touch this and talk the financial terms, pretty much talk the language, ties the piece of the education, I believe that that is how we can start to build both the trust with the departments, you know?
Definitely. That's such a great point, that lifetime value of a customer versus the customer acquisition cost, right? And I think it comes down to sophistication of client versus education. I think one, overarching point we've all talked about is the education of the people who make the decisions is very, very crucial. And I definitely think there's short-term gains versus long-term risks, and vice versa. Long-term gains for short-term risks, and that knowledge has to transfer from our end to theirs. One thing that I wanted to really get your thoughts on is the aspect of creative, right? Not necessarily that your agency is the same agency of your creative. Sometimes they're 2 different agencies, right? And sometimes creative teams are very, they're very creative. They want to come up with these beautiful ideas, but then it doesn't translate to your lower funnel or what the business objective, CPA or CPL objective. How do you kind of consolidate that? Or how do you bring together, integrate the creative with the media objectives when they're not within the same agency group? How do you kind of, close that gap?
My belief is that all of your marketing needs to perform. Therefore, all of your marketing is performance marketing, including creative. So for me, the definition of performance marketing equals to performance marketing. You're just talking about things that are proven quicker, things that take a little bit longer and are more complicated to prove, but everything needs to be science, everything needs to be proven. So on this premise, for me, it's essential that you look at your structure. If you have like everything in-house, if you have your creative team in-house sitting besides your media team or performance team, or how many teams you have together, it's just about how you can break the boundaries between those structures so they can work together. Same applies, but to a much different scale and complexity when you're talking about you sitting in one position, having one agency doing each one of your components of your marketing. So what is missing here, what I find surprising, that the answer is kind of there. You have to have one central element that I used to call him the enabler and the enforcer, which is the guy that kind of orchestrates all those people together, which is the person or the department or the team that has the ability to set common shared KPIs. Because if people don't have shared KPIs, if they're sitting on the same structure, it's already hard for them to collaborate. It needs to come by design, right? If you're talking about different companies, they tend to operate differently. They tend to have different processes, different timelines to answer for everything, different levels of dedication. So when you have a structure that is more broken into smaller pieces, the importance of this one person or team or department that can put all the things together and kind of say like to everyone, hey, this is your main goal. You guys are all equally accountable with all your contributions towards that goal, right? You can have like smaller sets of KPIs and indicators for creativity, for performance, for efficiency of the channels. But if you don't establish like a single shared KPI, it's almost impossible to make like, creative and anybody else to work together, right? Because creatives, they are beautiful in building brand narratives, storytelling, great visuals. And on the other side, you have like your hardcore, blood on the wall performance marketing teams that they don't care anything for that. But at the end of the day, each one of those individuals, if you're talking about juniors, mid-levels, and even the seniors, they want to do more, but they're putting boxes. And if you don't have somebody that can break those boxes and say, if you don't break that box, actually, I'm going to break it for you, and you're going to be held accountable for that, it's very hard.
What do you think, Carlos, about creative versus media?
Like I second Pedro, like the structure that I have been working both Karim on us and now at Kingmakers and even back the day in Brazil. For me, the big piece is one, you cannot silo, right? Oh, you're not the creative. Oh, you do the creative, then think about you're not in a traditional assembly line, right? You took your part, then I give to you, took your part. You took your part, then we have a car. In that case, it needs to be way more collaborative, right? To start off. Then think about what are the elements to sell anything. Hey, I have my product. I have an offer to the product, and I have the narratives or how do I present that product to people. So if you don't have the three of them, so imagine that you have your trading team making the offers for a given t-shirt. I want to sell this t-shirt, and we want to give 20% off of this t-shirt to everyone. Then you go to the marketeer. Oh, they're going to have all these channels. They're going to put this marketing budget behind that. And then creative goals, create something beautiful, but forgets about the offer. Bringing everything together. And more importantly, what are the KPIs? At the end of the day, we want to, I don't know, what is my cost per se? It's my total media spend. But it's also my budget that I add on my promotional spend. And how can I decrease this budget if I have more people clicking perhaps on my ad? So the creative comes in. How do you translate this very nice offer, this very nice product into something that's compelling that people will want? So if you somehow you can create on your creative team, both who is writing the copy, who is actually building the creative, for them to be accountable perhaps along with the journey to the CTRs of everything. And then, hey guys, now we're going to A/B test everything. And you are part of the performance to the point of it. Everything's performance. And actually, what you're putting outside of the door is the most important thing, right? So the marketer can set up the best campaign, put all the guardrails of the campaign, but if the creative is poor, your performance is poor. So almost as an education within the departments for them to understand this actually not silos. We have ways to work together and measure together our impact, I think this is the sort of the missing link, perhaps. That's sometimes because our agencies working not together. If you try to bridge this gap using perhaps the framework that Pedro brought, right? The enabler, the enforcer, and if it's inside or outside of the door, with agencies or with your own teams, if you can create this cohesive kind of view.
I definitely agree. I think this kind of brings the importance of, especially when you bring on a new client, that onboarding phase, the SLA, the make sure everyone's tied in. In my example, I've seen places where you have a very intricate onboarding where you connect all the dots and how seamless or less friction that continues versus a client that it's so siloed and it's just every step is like you're in quicksand. No matter what you do, you're sinking. Let's give advice. Let's say brands out there, we're trying to find the balance, be it small or big. What can we tell them to how they should move forward into 2025 and the years coming? What would be your kind of go-to advice and where should they focus? I'll start with you, Carlos, and we'll go to Pedro.
Okay, I think I'll be go back to the basics of marketing. Who is your customer? Okay, where your customer is congregating. Like, what are the channels that you need to be there? What your customer is trying to figure out? Because then you think about your media strategy. Okay, all my customers, they listen to podcasts. They are like, and think about if you're a B2C, B2B, changes so much. And if you don't really think of where your customer is, there is no way that you'll be able to translate, okay, how much I need to build awareness, how much I need to actually go for performance, which channels I need to go, and how do I think that as a cohesive omni-channel experience. So I think the very first one, go back to the basics. Tie every decision that you're making to, even if it's a performance base, is more like, hey, what is my value of customer? How every decision that I take as a marketer to invest more in awareness, to invest more in performance, is destroying the future value of my customer. If you go back to the basics, really think about your customer and think about what is the value of the customer, how much you as a marketer, you are impacting that value. And then, of course, like the execution piece is how you break those silos on your company. If you're a smaller company, it's faster, right? You have less people. But if you're a big corp with multiple agencies, multiple people, your role is way more like, how do I create the right framework, the right structure for create this collaboration?
I really like that. I like the back to basics. I think sometimes clients get so caught up in AI and we want to do this and we want omni-channel and we want a DSP and we want a CDP, we have everything in place. I'm like, okay, I like the back to basics. Sometimes we definitely need to go back a bit to go forward. How about you, Pedro? What kind of what would be your advice to brands trying to tackle this world today?
Absolutely love like across all the questions, all the answers we hear, like the need for education, the need for development, and at the end of the day, we are humans, right? So the people sitting in companies and making decisions, they're still humans. So the need for learning development has never been higher, although the access to knowledge information has also never been higher.
True.
So if I was to make like different points, this is one that I'm gonna agree with you guys, the need for learning. I would say number one, break this imaginary wall between brand equity and direct response. There is no wall. You are creating one. Probably what is happening is that you don't really understand how each one of those really work, how they can be measured, how fast one works versus how long term the other works. So get better at that. Break that wall, get a better understanding, structure things in a more simplistic manner. You'd be surprised how easy it is. You would be surprised. It's not that hard. We're in the best era for that. We have so much technology. We have so many smart people. It is easy to break that wall. Second thing I would say, this is quite common and has nothing to do with like small agency or big advertiser, or even if it's brand versus everything else. Stop trying to get the best performance of everything at the same time. If you have a campaign that has the objective of driving leads, yes, for sure, it's helping to build a bit of your brand, but that's not going to be the most efficient way to build brand awareness, engagement, ad recall, and recognition. So you have to be able to understand that, you give purpose to your channels, you give purpose to your campaign. So stop trying to get the bit of awareness on your lead generation or your customer acquisition campaigns. Stop trying to kind of like also embed a bit of your CPL based campaigns on your awareness campaign. It's not going to come to that. And if it comes, it's not going to look great. It's going to look like half baked, half done. So give focus, double down on the focus. Make your performance direct response campaign be the best direct response that has ever been for your company, and make your like brand building, equity building, mid to long run be the best one. Stop trying to get everything at the same time. Each channel can do everything, but they cannot do everything with the same level of excellence at the same time. And the last one, and I really hope people get into that one, the need for acting fast, the need for speed is not an excuse for not operating, for going ahead without a proper structured plan. You need to act fast, fantastic. Everybody's moving so fast, but we are moving fast. What usually happens is that, I need to respond. And you start measuring the maturity of the markets on that. How much you come to that situation that you need to respond to something, you need to respond to your competitor. Have a structured plan. You're always going to need to respond to something. If it's a tactical offer, if it's a brand building development, you will always have to respond because the marketing changed so much, because all the conditions are happening so fast now. So just don't take that as an excuse. I see that happening a lot, not on one kind of company or the other, but we just need to act fast. No, if you just act fast, you will fail fast. But if you don't learn with your fail fast, it basically produces you nothing.
I like that. There's always one question I've been asking my guests, and it's the premise of the podcast. This podcast is called The Digital Drift. So I always ask people, what idea or concept have you been drifting on lately? Which is, have you changed your thought process on something lately in our industry? What kind of idea have you really been kind of drifting on or drifting away from lately?
That's an interesting one. I think from drifting away, I think for me, I was like pretty much everything is measurable. Like I think more and more I'll work and then more work with marketing, partner with my peers is the importance of the branding piece. And for me was a humbling experience to, okay, let me go back to basics and understand how do we actually measure brand and how does it impact day to day. Like recently we were operating in Nigeria. As an example, as a marketeer or as a like my consuming habits living here in Dubai, it's completely different from someone in Nigeria using a brand which is a mass market brand. So as an example, our team was very adamant of let's sponsor the Big Brother Nigeria. And I was, if I was to think of my mind as a consumer was, I will never watch Big Brother Nigeria. And then they managed to convince, hey, this is a whole play for us to be there, like sponsor, this will be actually in front of our customers. And I was, okay, let me humble. Let's go back. Okay, this is ties to our customers. Yes, it ties. Our customers consume this. Yes. So how do we make the most out of it? And then we actually created the whole game for Baby Naija. We actually created a whole omni-channel journey. We created like several offers, and then has been very successful. So if I was just with my hat of, this is not performance, I won't be able to measure that, I could have lost. We would have lost a massive opportunity. So I think drifting back to the basics and, okay, trying to be humble enough to, hey, actually I can learn. I actually should learn, to be honest, right? And then not just working on my silo. I think this is something that has helped. And I think more curiosity-wise is just like how AI is impacting everything, and like just thinking with a lot of kind of lovable, all the other things, like think about doing the basics faster. This is also helping, and like within our teams, like sometimes how long the time to create a creative, or how fast can I, or how do I ensure that everything, all the pieces of creative or everything that's going out can be checked by AI, and then making the teams more efficient. So I think these are one is more like humbling, and the other one is like how fast forwarding, this is what I have been playing around these days.
Nice, I like that. How about you, Pedro?
I really like what Carlos said, man. Pretty cool.
Same.
Mine, I think, is a bit darker. Like what I've been drifting on is, like more and more, like I've been exposed to this dilemma of, this is art, this is science. They are not the same. They're never going to be the same. There's a clear separation. There is a bridge. And what I've been drifting on is essentially like how AI is kind of saying like, no. Everything is science. You just don't know that yet. And I think now for once we're starting to get all the tools to put those two things together and show the science that is behind what we say it's art or it's uniquely human and all of that. So that's what is really taking a bit of my extra time. Whenever I have like some time, I naturally drift towards this topic, because I came from this belief that, everything is science, but some sciences are majorly developed already and some of them are ongoing developing. And I think that was the last one, what is the science of art? What is the science of human behavior? Or what is the science of like how each one of us is considered unique? So AI for me seems to be like, the final answer for this question that I had, this false dilemma, and it's coming to my original belief that everything is science.
I like that. Guys, I love those last points. Nice way to end it. I really appreciate you guys joining me. For anyone listening, I make sure to include the guys' LinkedIn bios or whatever socials they want in the description. And that's pretty much it, guys. This has been Digital Drift, the Drift Panels. I'm Hoos, and we're out.